everybody. This is going out to the kaiju lovers, the henshin heroes, and all of my readers and all that on my YouTube channel. We got a lot. This is going out to a lot of different places because this is one of those opportunities where one interview cross-sects on just about everything. It's like an insane Venn diagram. I don't know how I manage that, but I manage that. So with me today is the author of, I'm assuming, many things, but she's here to talk about her new book series, The Ultra Academy, which started with, I got it right here, Beware the Baleful Baltan. I love the Stan Lee style alliteration here, as I said in my review for Kaiju United. So yes, with me today is Rebecca Reynolds. How are you doing today, Rebecca?
I'm great. Thanks for having me. This will be fun.
Yes. I've been looking forward to this for a long time. We met actually in person at G Fest. You were selling early copies of the book there. One of my co-hosts on Henshin Power V3 tried to marry you. It was funny. And you
I was
signed
there
his.
with Pigmons and they say dance with the one who brought you. So
Yeah. And so it's Jake is his name, Jake Hambrick. And you wrote, when you signed his copy of the book, you wrote in it, you said, "What would your wife say?" We make Chris the on Henshin Power V3, Christopher Reiner. We tease him all the time because he talks a big game. He talks such a big game, but when it comes down to it, he can't do it. So
so funny.
it's hilarious. It's hilarious. But yes, so, and in case you need a little bit of help, we brought your handler, your tag team partner, whatever, the apparently Eisner Award-winning Stephen Smith, just in case.
He's my Jedi master and I'm the Padawan. That's how
the Padawan.
Yeah, I'm the Padawan.
Yeah. You might want to graduate you a little bit soon. You might want to watch out for that Anakin guy. I've heard stories. Just saying.
We could just say that I'm her publisher.
Her publisher.
There you go.
Since I did publish this book and
her
boss at work.
Yeah. And we will be getting into that a little bit because I picked up a copy at G Fest, read it, and I think I might have had one of the first reviews for the book out there because I immediately got a hold of the editor at Kaiju United and I said, "Hey, do you need a review of this book?" He's like, "Yeah, we do." It's like, "Okay, I got a copy. I'm going to write you a review," because he was at G Fest as well. And he's like, "Oh, okay." And yeah, I think we were one of the first ones to get it out there because the book wasn't publicly available until what, September?
September 23rd was our
September
official
23rd.
release date.
But you were hitting up a few conventions. My friend Eric bumped into you the week after G Fest in Michigan
At Realm Makers.
Realm Makers, yeah.
Realm Makers Christian Speculative Fiction Convention.
Yeah, and he's like, "Hey, I got you a copy of this book." It's like, "Dude, I saw them last week at G Fest. I already got one." He's like, "Oh, okay, I'll keep it."
Yeah, and the reason I was there, Nathan, is our company also owns a publishing group called Enclave, which is a Christian speculative fiction brand. So we were there representing that brand, but I thought, I'm here, and I thought if there's anyone that I thought might find Ultraman interesting, and there were plenty, including your friend. So we had a lot of fun with that.
Oh, yeah. Well, and it makes sense because Eiji Tsuburaya, the creator of Ultraman, was a rare Japanese Catholic.
Yep.
I wish I could find more information about that, but everything I've read, even like English language biographies of this man, it's barely a step above a footnote than mentioning that he was Catholic. Because once I learned that, it colored everything I saw him work on because I'm like, I see it there. I see it especially in Ultraman, but I see it in, in some of the other things that he's done. It's particularly with Mothra. Don't get me started with Mothra. And what makes Mothra even more interesting is that he converted to Catholicism later, from what I understand. He was actually raised Buddhist. And that influence
he converted
is also
in 1955, if I remember correctly. I think he converted in 1955.
See, I didn't even know that. I need to know where this information is. So, like, I need more people to talk about its Catholicism because that is fascinating to me,
I think his
especially
wife
in Japan where
was.
Christianity is so rare. You were saying?
I'm sorry. I think his wife was a Christian
She
before him.
was.
And
Mm-hmm.
then from what I've read, they don't know exactly when the conversion happened, but when his son was baptized with Christian name in the church, I think that's when they think it was sometime between when he met
Mm-hmm.
his wife and that.
Yeah,
So,
and that's why I know we're going to get into it. I don't want to get too far into this rabbit trail, but that's why I think if you look at the foundations of Ultraman,
mhm,
it is very obviously Christian.
mhm.
Yeah, I mean, you have what is this? We have this being of light from the land of light who who shows up and bonds with a human and is battling monsters to keep the world safe and and even and as the shows go on, even without Eiji Tsuburaya's involvement, they start getting even deeper into that. They also, especially in the 70s, developed this weird interest in crucifying all of them at least once. Ultra 7 got crucified, and then in the 70s, they all got crucified. It
Well, I
was
mean,
like,
yeah.
guys, what?
In Ultraman Max, the girl in Ultraman Max, they had her tied up on a cross
Yep.
in one of the episodes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. It's it gets interesting to say the least. And I was telling Rebecca we were having a bit of a conversation on the phone before we started recording where I said like Ultraman as a franchise is just vehemently anti-nihilism. Even when it's dark, it's vehemently anti-nihilism, which I would say is also part of its Christian foundation. But like I said, we're not here to talk about that. I want to hear more about you, Rebecca. So hopefully you don't feel too overwhelmed by these questions. They should be easy, I think.
What
But
do you want to know?
yeah, well, first of all, who the heck are you? Tell us a bit about yourself.
Who the heck am I?
Yeah.
Um, let's see. Are we defined by what we love? Because I love nerds. I love people who are passionate about obscure things. I love
Mm-hmm.
documentaries, folklore, board games, um, the unexpected,
Mm-hmm.
libraries, museums, science, except for chemistry. I don't really like chemistry.
Too much
I
math.
love physics and biology. Um, I don't know. I have a background in English literature. Did my master's degree in storytelling with an emphasis on creativity theory.
I
So
was
going
gonna say, yeah, I was thinking like stuff like where are you from,
oh yeah.
where'd you go to school, things like like particularly college. That's what I'm most interested in. But
Well,
yeah.
undergraduate at Georgetown, in Kentucky, and then graduate school in East Tennessee. So I was going to go back into literary studies, and we actually had the International Storytelling Festival in East Tennessee. People come from all over the world, and I was very much a cerebral thinker. And there was a book called Orality and Literacy talking about the origin of story being verbal. And for so long, humans told stories. And so only later was literacy developed to where we change story form. And I thought, well, this is something that's really going to challenge the way I approach story.
Mhm.
And it also kind of banks on a collaborative, creative approach where you are co-creating with the listener. And so it just kind of expanded. There's a really cool theory of creativity that involves the material and then the creator and then the listener. And so this was kind of forcing that, like causing me to always think, who's listening?
Mhm.
What do they need? How are they helping to form the story? So
Mhm.
anyway,
Yeah,
that's
yeah.
educationally.
So did you grow up in Kentucky and Tennessee and around there?
Kentucky, Ohio, and then we lived in Texas a while in Arkansas. And I was fortunate to grow up in a home where we traveled quite a bit. And then
Mm-hmm.
our neighbors, as I was telling you earlier, we had neighbors from Japan, and we had a
Mm.
lot of international students come stay in our house, and we had Japanese exchange students come live with us for long periods of time. So kind of had a deep connection with Japanese culture from the time I was pretty small. When I
Mm.
was 3 years old, our neighbor would take me to her house and teach me Japanese. And
Wow.
I still have my little books where she would, teach me all the letters. And so kind of a long time that I've been interacting with that world.
Yeah, and well, you kind of skipped ahead to to one of my later questions, which about well, let's go into that, and that's what got you interested in Japanese media and culture. Whether that was tokusatsu or whatever it was.
Yeah, well, I mean, so many different things in terms of just kind of my personality and the way I think, the subtlety, the focus on listening, the focus on balance. Just those are some things that I just kind of gravitate toward anyway, and kind of need that nuanced approach to the world. But also, when I was a kid, I watched Journey to the Center of the Earth, Pat Boone's Journey to the Center of the Earth, and really fell in love with monsters. And then there's several shows from the 60s that Steve and I talk about sometimes, but I just really felt, and of course, MST3K, like all these things kind of came and intersected, and that appreciation for, oh, this creature is going to go giant and then it's going to ravage the city or whatever. I mean, Beowulf, like there's so many of these things that are they have similar elements if you look at the Venn diagram of things that interconnect. I spent 6 years creating a rendering of a poem from the 1590s, Edmund Spenser's The Faerie Queen. And people say, how did you go from that into, writing about Japanese monsters? And I just said, there's so much that's the same. If you think about psychologically what goes into the creation of a kaiju in a culture, what would
Mhm.
cause this creature to emerge, that's very similar to a lot of other stories that have been
hmm
told
hmm
over time.
Yeah,
So,
I have this idea for an essay I would love to write, whether that be part of a book or something like that, where I argue that Ultraman, regardless of which Ultraman we're talking about,
yeah.
is a dragon slayer. Like
Oh,
if you look archetypally, he's a dragon slayer
mm-hmm.
because, and I'm not going to get too much into it because I want to save it for this essay, but
Mm-hmm.
traditionally speaking, dragon slaying is about conquering chaos. And what does Ultraman do? He does exactly that. In fact, Ultra Q, the show that predated led into Ultraman back in the 60s, the original title that they wanted to use was Unbalance. Well, what's another word for unbalance? Chaos. And that idea of unbalance continued into Ultraman.
Interesting.
So that's going to be the crux of my argument. It'll be my thesis, I guess you could say. So nobody can steal it. I hereby claim it. If I find an essay published after this comes out, I will sue you.
Well,
You have been warned.
I think it's interesting that Ultraman tries to understand. It's not really relativism, but I think he tries to understand and he tries to choose grace and restoration. Sometimes he has to do the extreme thing, but I like how he is attempting to bring about restoration first. And a lot of times you can see even just if it's a slight pause before
Mm.
he engages in battle, he's trying to
Yeah,
find.
unless it's the first time the Baltan show up, and then it's just like, nope. he skipped ahead to shoot them. A little bit. That's a little bit of a
Baltan,
joke that people have. Yeah,
Baltan's
but
he's
even
an
like
interesting character.
Jaras, even though he taunted Jaras, and
Mm,
the one that's a thinly veiled Godzilla,
mm,
but he taunts Jaras, gives Jaras really a hard time. But then what does he do afterward? He shows respect after he
mm,
defeats Jaras.
mhm.
Takes the frill that he ripped off and drapes it over him. So
Sweet.
yeah, yeah. In to give another example, in the current show, Ultraman Omega, there is a point where you do see a moment of hesitation because Omega was about to do his version of the specimen beam, and he stops because he's like, "No, I can't," because the monster had befriended a little girl,
Yeah.
and he's like, "I can't do it," but the monster wanted him to
Hmm.
for story reasons. Go watch the episode. You'll probably cry. It's a pretty emotionally intense episode. But yeah, I get what you mean there.
Do
So
you see a difference from what you've seen of Japanese storytelling and Western storytelling in approach that is more nuanced or that listens or that has that humility? Have you noticed that?
I have noticed that, and I would say one of the things that's interesting. And this isn't true with everything, but Japanese storytelling typically uses a very different structure than Western storytelling. And you'll see it in a lot of tokusatsu and kaiju media, which is, I forget what the name is for this. I'd have to look it up, but it's something I've come across in my research. But the long and short of it is that they believe in having this really slow burn throughout most of the story. And then there'll be this explosive finale, and then a very sharp decline into, declining action into, resolution.
Right.
And that's why the joke is that Westerners all think that the best part of a kaiju movie is the end. Because that's when everything blows up.
Yeah.
You look at an Ultraman episode, that's basically what it is, because they were doing it because they only had the budget to, to make so many special effects. So their narrative justification for why Hayata doesn't become Ultraman until the end is because he can only be Ultraman for 3 minutes.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I think that's part of it. There is a bit of that meditation a little bit, and then you take action. Come down. I'm sure there's a lot of psychoanalysis that can go into that.
Yeah.
But yeah, and the willingness to have a little bit of nuance, whereas Westerners tend to be a little bit more straightforward. A little bit more, I don't want to say, well, I guess naturalistic would be part of it. But it's like you look at American giant monster movies versus Japanese, they tend to be more naturalistic with their depictions and much more dedicated to eradicating the threat. Whereas in Japanese movies, not quite as much.
It's interesting. It's an interesting thing to think about, isn't it?
Yeah, for sure. But speaking of that, wanted to also know, who are your literary influences and heroes?
My literary influences. Well, I mean, the past couple of years, I've been trying to read more Japanese novels, translations of Japanese novels, of course, because I just want to understand kind of the storytelling background. So I've really enjoyed some of those. I'm a huge John Donne fanatic. I love John Donne. He's probably my favorite poet. I just think he's uniquely genius in every single capacity of poetry. I like Wendell Berry. He's a Kentucky writer. Of course, Shakespeare. Everybody loves Shakespeare. Tolkien, C.S. Lewis, Dorothy Sayers. Just in terms of her ability to talk about writing, I think she was really, really smart. So those are a few.
Yeah.
What about you? Who are yours?
Well, Lewis and Tolkien are probably the two biggest ones, I would say. Yeah. Not only influenced me as a writer, but influenced my thinking. So
yes, absolutely.
I would put them high. And I love Shakespeare. I love Shakespeare quite a bit. And there are a few pulp writers that I've grown to appreciate over the years.
Who?
People like the Robert E. Howard, creator of Conan. Just actually started reading H.P. Lovecraft for the first time in my life.
Wow.
Enjoy that.
Recently. Which has been an interesting experience. I'm like, I get why people love this guy so much.
Oh, yeah.
Not all of his stories are gold, and some of them I'm just like, is this even a story? But I get why he became such an influence. And the thing that fascinates me about Lovecraft, at least from a Christian standpoint, is I feel like he almost got there. But when he writes about being confronted with just like basically overwhelming divinity, it inspired fear, which led to madness for his characters, as opposed to reverence. So it's like he came to that crossroad and went one way.
Wow. Do you like Jules Verne?
Yes, I've read some Jules Verne, enjoyed him, and H.G. Wells. Obviously, I like the classics a lot.
Yeah, me too.
I like the classics. And by the way, if you enjoy reading translations of Japanese novels, I know a guy who does that.
Who is that?
Dr. Jeffrey Engels.
Okay, all right.
And in fact, he has a new translation that's I'm going to be interviewing him later this month because his next translation is going to be out next month. He's been translating novels related to kaiju. He did a translation of a couple of Godzilla novelizations a couple years ago. It was written by a guy named Kayama. He got a lot of attention for doing that because those had never been available in America before.
Wow.
And now he just translated The Luminous Fairies and Mothra, which was
Wow.
a book that was commissioned by Toho as a lead up to the Mothra
Mhm.
movie. And it was a very short book, very short book. It's only like 60 pages. And that was given to Shinichi Sakazawa, one of their go-to screenwriters and
Wow.
a genius in his own right, I would argue. The unsung hero of the classic Toho era, I would say.
Wow.
One of them. Yeah, there are other screenwriters, another unsung hero, Takeshi
I'd love to
Kimura.
meet him at some
Yeah.
point. He
Well,
sounds
they're both no longer with us, unfortunately. Are you talking about Jeffrey Engels?
Jeffrey Ingles. Yeah.
Yes, yeah, yeah. He teaches at a Michigan university in Battle Creek, so
Okay.
it's not
Cool.
very far. But anyway, yeah, Luminous Fairies and Mothra. I highly recommend that. I got sent an advanced reader copy and read it, and it was fantastic. I've been
When
wanting
is
to
it
read that one
released?
for a while. What?
When is it released? What?
January 13th, if I
Okay.
remember correctly.
Okay.
I still have my pre-order on Amazon, even though
Yeah.
they sent me an advanced reader copy.
Oh man, I'm writing it down. That'll be
Yeah,
good.
The Luminous Fairies and Mothra. It's a fascinating little book, and I got some inside information. I know what he's doing next.
Oh, is it good?
What?
Is it good?
I'm looking forward to it.
Okay. Good.
So yeah, I won't say any more other than that. Alrighty, so we have that. So I gotta know. I gotta ask. What was your first tokusatsu?
I was trying to remember this, and I can't remember. I mean, I remember, I don't remember which came first. Like, I remember as a kid, like I said, and this isn't really tokusatsu, but I remember falling in love with Journey to the Center of the Earth. And I remember around that time also watching King Kong, the old one. And then I also remember watching an old Godzilla.
What happened
But
in
I
the
remember
Godzilla
loving
movie? Because I
Mothra.
can tell you what it is.
What?
Tell me, hey, just tell me what happened in that Godzilla movie, and I'll tell you what it is.
Oh, I was so little. But I just remember just being, I think it was the old one that inspired
Was it
Egypt
black
to
and
Fire.
white?
I think it was that what was that 50 was that very first black and white King Kong
1954.
1954.
54?
Yeah,
I think it was
you
that one.
probably saw the Americanized version from 1956 that had Raymond Burr in it.
Okay, I don't remember. I was just a little girl.
Mm-hmm.
But and I really loved Mothra. I remember just thinking that was super cool story.
Mm-hmm.
So I can't remember what came first, but I just remember that whole I mean, we had a television, like an oldies television station. I just remember sitting there eating graham crackers until I was gonna die of thirst and watching old monster movies. So, you know.
So it was probably Godzilla or Mothra. I get it.
But I loved Mothra. I was scared of
Mhm.
Godzilla.
Makes sense. Godzilla's a little scary. Although
Yeah.
Mothra can be scary when she wants to.
But I like the girls, you
Yes,
know,
the twins.
the twins.
The twins. The
I thought that.
Shobajin, that was their original name.
Mm,
My favorites are, I know this is the most basic pick ever, but the Peanuts. They're the best ones. The originals. They're the best ones because they were actual twins and they were sisters and they could
hmm.
sing. They actually could sing, and it's like that they struck gold with that because twins are exceedingly rare in Japan.
Okay.
Exceedingly rare. So the fact that they found another pair of twin girls to be
Hmm.
the twin to be the Shobajin in one movie in the 60s, I'm like, how the heck did you manage that? You struck gold twice? How?
Amazing. Amazing.
Yeah, yeah. So do you think it was the original Mothra or was it
Yeah.
Mothra versus Godzilla?
No, it was the original Mothra.
Original Mothra? Yeah. Don't take Mothra's girls. That'll make her angry.
Yeah. And I was okay, so this is nerdy, but I
That's
was
why we're here.
okay,
We
thanks.
accept
So
such things.
before I went into literature, I was an entomologist. So I was like, I started working by the time I was a freshman in high school. I was in Puerto Rico because of experiments that I did with moths. I was trying to get them to skip instars to pupate early so that they would be sterile. But anyway, at a huge, I would be out at night under the big security light catching moths, like many, many years, starting from when I was about 8 or 9 years old. So that was another connection to Mothra. It's just
Ah,
loving insects and
You would love a character on my podcast that came into existence kind of by happenstance.
Mm-hmm.
It's a Sailor Moon style superheroine who is moth themed and crystal
Awesome.
themed. It's moths and crystals. Those are her themes because her name is Crystal Lady.
Wonderful.
And all of her villains are moth themed
That's
because
crazy.
she's fighting a cult from the country that was featured, the fictional country that was featured in the original Mothra,
Mhm.
and they're all moth themed. So it's like, what is it? Like we've had Pepper Moth who was a shapeshifter. We had Silkworm who could spin web from her mouth,
Mm.
and she would, and then she would go eat the webbing off of you. It was disgusting.
Wow.
Yeah,
That's crazy. Well,
yeah.
there's just something neat about moths. And, I caught all kinds of insects in the daylight, but when you to catch moths, you put out a big white sheet and you stand under a security light and you just wait. And there's just such a there's something just kind of spooky and cool and beautiful. Like there really are fairies, they're just moths.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and their legs are puffy and
Mm-hmm.
they're just be really uniquely beautiful creatures. So,
Mm-hmm. Have you
yeah.
ever have you ever seen, probably haven't, because I think these are native to the Amazon and they're hard to find, but this was fascinating because I started researching mods to come up with ideas for villains for the
Wow.
show. Have you ever heard of, I forget, what is it? I remember its scientific name, but its quote unquote common name is the white witch moth. You ever
No,
heard of
I've
that?
never seen that.
Yeah, it's, what is it? I think part of its scientific name is Thessania, something like that.
Oh,
Like I said, yeah, I found video of it on YouTube, but they said that it's not it's a rare insect,
wow.
but it is not technically the largest species of moth in the world, but it has the largest wingspan. But
Wow.
its body is very tiny, but its wingspan is almost 2 feet long.
That's
It
crazy.
when you see video of it in flight, it looks like a bird.
Wow.
And it was called the White Witch because, one, it's white, but it's because when the European settlers came to the Amazon, they saw it and they would try to shoot at it with guns.
Oh my gosh.
Like nothing, like they would shoot at it and nothing would happen. So they said it must be a witch. That's
Yeah.
why they call it the White Witch. But the reason why
Huh.
it didn't do anything is because their pellets would hit the wings, but it wouldn't
Mm-hmm.
hit the body because the body was too tiny.
Mm-hmm. Wow. Well, that would be interesting to watch it come out of a cocoon because all of that liquid's in the body first, and then they climb up.
Mhm.
So I guess it had a really big body at one point and then flooded the wings. But a lot of moths don't have a proboscis, so that's it. They're whatever they have, and then they live out their little beautiful tragic life, and then it's over. So there's that element too.
Yeah, yeah. Well, that's why there are multiple generations of Mothras in
Yeah.
most media.
Yeah.
They don't tend to last long.
No.
And there's some interesting spiritual symbolism with Mothra if you really want to get into it.
Hmm.
Yeah. It's all
Very
about death and rebirth and fun
cool.
stuff like that. All right, we need to stop nerding out. So, how did you discover the Ultra series? So basically, how did you discover Ultraman? And who was your first
Steve,
Ultraman?
my first Ultraman, well, original Ultraman, the very first
The
1960
original?
was my very first one, and I still love original Ultraman. I think I was telling you I have a crush on Ultraman Max. Um, I can't help it. I just do. He's so cute. But
Are
I still
you talking about his host or actual Ultraman?
yes, both,
Oh, okay.
both.
Believe it or not, there's actually an Ultra series with it's Ultraman Zet, or it just looks like a Z, but it's supposed
Hmm.
to be pronounced Zet.
Hmm.
I always called it Z for the longest time, but apparently it's officially Zet. One of the quote unquote Science Patrol members in that is in love with the Ultraman, but
Oh,
she doesn't like his host. She thinks it's like a Clark Kent thing with Lois
yep,
Lane.
yep,
She's in love with the Ultraman, but she doesn't like the host. She thinks he's
yep.
annoying.
That's funny.
And what's really funny is that she's like a tough chick, but
Yeah.
when she sees the Ultraman, she gets all soft and girly.
As one does.
I'm just like, lady, How?
That's
I have
funny.
questions.
That's funny. Well, Steve, you can tell the story of Ultraman if you want, of how we kind of how that happened.
About how you learned about Ultraman or how you got
Mhm.
in. Well, I
Yeah.
mean, I you know, a lot of my experience in publishing has been in entertainment licensing. And every year I go to a trade show called Licensing Expo. And one year I was there, this would be maybe 2018. And I ran into a guy named Danny Simon, who had a company called the Licensing Group. And he was representing Ultraman. And I remembered Ultraman from my childhood because I think it came on, at least in the Chicago market, around 1970, the original show.
Yep.
It may have been earlier than that, but from what I recall, I would have been 9 years old then.
Yeah,
But
it played in reruns for a long time, but I think it was released in America, I think only about a year after it aired in Japan. So
okay,
I think it was
so
around 1967 was when it was dubbed and released in
sure.
America.
Well,
If I
I
remember correctly.
remember I was 9 years old when I remember it. And I mean, I at the same time watching that, um, it was just something for me to do that I was interested in because my very first memory of life, my childhood, is my third birthday when I got an Astro Boy record, 45 record of the theme song from Astro Boy, and my mom singing along to it on my little record player. And I loved the Astro Boy anime, you know, long
Mhm.
before it was called anime. I watched it, and then because of that came Eighth Man, and then Gigantor.
Oh,
But
Gigantor.
Ultraman was one that I recall because that led me into other live action series that later hit the Chicago market, like Spectre Man, Space Giants, which is, you know, Magamo Taishi
Mhm.
from Tezuka,
Emperor, what is the Emperor Magma? Is that
Ambassador,
Ambassador Magma?
Ambassador
That's what
Mag,
it is. Yeah. Yep. Yep.
Magamo Taishi.
Yeah. Yeah. Space Giants had the original Goldar, I
Yes, it
found
did.
out.
The original
Because
Goldar,
you say
Goldar,
Goldar to
Silvar, and
anyone in
Gam
my
the Rocket Boy.
generation,
Yep,
it's Power Rangers.
yep, yep. I remember that one. I remember that bugging me with my son watching Power Rangers and having a gold dog mask on, whereas the real Goldar was so cool. But
Hey,
anyway,
you're
so
taking your chances with Power Ranger fans. I'm just saying,
I
right?
just so we're clear, I love Power Rangers. My son was 5 years old when Power Rangers first hit, and he in 2017 when the new movie came out, he would have been 29 years old. And he and his childhood best friend, who he hadn't seen in about 10 years, got together to go to the theater to see the new Power Rangers movie. And every year at Licensing Expo, when Saban still owned Power Rangers, they would do a power coin and a collector coin. When it was the 25th anniversary, they did them. And I would get those every year for my son at the show. So you know, with as much as respect as I could show to Power Rangers, um, nonetheless, the original Goldar was Space Giants.
Mhm.
However, I'm making a short story long. I started talking to Danny Simon at Licensing Expo, and I said, well, you know, I would be potentially interested in developing a book series based on Ultraman. And I had just met Rebecca. She was in the studio recording her first book. We had licensed it from the publisher, and we were going to do the audiobook. And that's when I first met Rebecca. Rebecca has, I knew she would be very open-minded if I sent her the first Ultraman series. And I said, would you just watch this and maybe watch it with your son and let me know your thoughts about this? So for about the next 5 years, because COVID shut down the Licensing Expo for 2020 2020 and 2021. And then in 2022, I didn't go because of the fear of getting COVID. But Danny kept on me and said, why don't we do something with this? So in 2023, we had actually already signed the deal, and Rebecca and I went to Licensing Expo in 2023. And that's when we met the entire Japanese team from Tsuburaya. And, Rebecca, I had already known then when she was coming to the end of working on Fairy Queen that I wanted to hire her to be my associate publisher and then potentially take over my job if I decided to retire. And when that happened, I wanted her to meet the people, my contacts. And so I felt it was important to bring her. Well, with her literary background, I thought it would be good for her to develop the character Bible or the story Bible for Ultraman. And so she set about doing that so that we could put it together and hire an author, hire a writer to do it. And she called me one night and said, would you mind if I just gave this a try myself? Because I've already written so much about it. And I said, well, give it a try. Well, we submitted it to Tsuburaya, and they said, yeah, we would prefer you not giving this to someone else. We would like her to write these. And that's how history was written. So
the phrase that went through my head is, a writer is you. Yeah. It's a joke from a video game. There was an old arcade game where it got translated wonky. It was a Japanese game, and if you finish the game, it said, a winner is you.
Sort of like all your base art belong to us.
Except not nearly as bad.
Yeah.
Well, so anyway, that is how Ultraman fell into Sky Turtle Press. Actually, it fell into Oasis Family Media. Rebecca and I created Sky Turtle Press as the imprint for her Fairy Queen book. And then when we acquired Ultraman, we talked about it and thought, let's put this out in a sci-fi sub-imprint of Sky Turtle, which is Sky Turtle Nova.
Mm-hmm.
And
you realize if you say Sky Turtle to someone like me,
Gamera.
It conjures Gamera.
I would never have connected that, nor would I have thought about that when I was coming up with the name of the company and the imprint. There certainly is no connection to Gamera.
Also, in a lot of folklore, the world was created on the back of a turtle. So
this is true. This is
also,
true. And what's funny, to connect it back to Ultraman, there is an episode of Ultra Q that has a flying turtle and centers around a child.
Amazing.
And I'm pretty sure, given the timing, that was probably being made about the same time as that first Gamera movie. So,
well, I would never, and I mean, while I was jokingly denying it here, I would never deny that there was that influence when we were selecting the name for the company. Rebecca and I did that together, but I certainly did think of Gamera because I have a soft spot in my heart for Gamera. And so.
yeah.
Well, I think at the time I really needed Ultraman because, I don't know. I mean, there's such a fearless commitment to courage, kindness, and hope. And, I think there's so much that is, and I'm not saying that there are dark themes that appear in Ultraman, but there's no apology for being pure of heart or for believing that good can come. And there's no apology for self-sacrifice. There's no apology for hope and for believing that people can rise up to the next challenge. And those things, when the world is hurting and people are suspicious of each other and things are broken, those are things that are easy to let go of. And I think that even though there's some fairy tale aspect to this, I think it's true. I think those things are true, and we have to fight back the cynicism that tells us that there is no hope and that our courage will come to nothing. And that kindness is pointless. And so I need Ultraman, I guess,
Hmm.
And I know there's a lot that's funny about it. We can make jokes about the mechanisms and some of the things that happen that are just funny and are meant to be funny, but there's also something really beautiful and anchoring about this hero from a planet of light coming and helping humans take the
Hmm.
next step.
Hmm. Yeah, I don't remember if we mentioned this during the actual recorded portion of this, but I was telling you that I do think that a core facet of I did mention this before. Yeah, I said that a core facet of Ultraman as a franchise is it is vehemently anti-nihilism.
Yep.
It is completely against it. I was telling you, I just watched and I just recorded this a few weeks ago. I watched the full title, strap in for the full title, is Ultraman Tiga and Ultraman Dyna Warriors of the Star of Light. I was telling you that the entire motivation for the bad guys and that these
Hmm.
alien invaders is they said human existence is meaningless. Therefore,
Yep.
we are justified in wiping you all out.
Yep.
Yeah.
And they're called super guts in that
Hmm.
one, the science patrol, and
Yeah.
eventually Ultraman Dyna, because he has to go through a little bit of an arc because he fails as a hero
Hmm.
halfway through the movie because he tries to fight their giant killer robot and it doesn't work out very well. So
Hmm.
he's like, I have failed as a hero. I can't do this. And then he has to go on a journey where finds out, no, you can do this. You
Yeah.
failed once, yes, but you can do this. I know another Ultraman who went through this,
Yeah.
basically. So, yeah. And then the next time he goes to fight the killer robot, he wins. And then the bad guys whip out a trump card and he's like, oh crap, I did not prepare for this.
Yeah.
And then we get the 5 minute crossover that the title promised.
Oh,
Thanks,
well,
Tiga. Do sex, Tiga. That's basically what it boiled down to. But it was
one of
pretty
my
good all up to that.
one of my favorite ancient images is that hope is affiliated with an anchor. And I think we
Mhm.
tend to think of hope as being something that's very like light and funny and like we're gonna be optimistic. And the idea that hope is something that goes down to a core that it's heavy and solid and we can dig down into the core of it when we feel the storms like thrashing us about. I think that is you feel that in Ultraman. Things are really dark. Like these things are bigger than anything humans can deal with. And yet, if you kind of plug into this deep hope, this anchor that good can still come. And gosh, we need that more now than
Mm-hmm.
I think, especially kids who are growing
Mm-hmm.
up in a chaotic, scary world. So
Mm-hmm.
it's
That's
good.
why and this is a dark horse pick for
Hmm.
most people. I was telling you earlier why one of my favorite Ultra series is Ultraman Nexus. No, Ultraman Nexus was
Hmm.
made for adults.
Yeah.
It is very dark, but
Yeah.
it doesn't lose that core of who Ultraman is. As dark as it gets, it doesn't lose that core. And the
Hmm.
fact that it doesn't lose that core, I
Hmm.
think makes the show even more impactful.
Yep.
Because you have characters who are dealing with very real trauma while also fighting monsters. I
Yeah.
mean, there are several hosts for Nexus over the course of the show because they have to change hands.
Hmm.
Mild spoiler there, but the first one was a war photographer who's dealing with PTSD. He's not
Wow.
even a member of the Science Patrol,
Okay.
Wow.
and he just kind of stumbled across the transformation device for Nexus
Hmm.
and became his host. And now he's like, great, I got to go fight monsters while dealing with my own demons. Because spoiler warning, while he was a war photographer, he saw a child die during a battle,
Hmm.
and it haunts him.
Mhm.
Yep.
Now it's shown very tastefully, I will say, but if child death is something you can't handle, maybe don't watch that. But you know, but yeah, it's an
There,
intense show. It's an intense show, and the monsters are extremely scary.
But if you think about the world that Iji Tsuburaya was coming out of to create Ultraman and the chaos and the confusion of major cultural upheaval and recovering from nuclear horrors and all, so much death and so much that he would 10 years later be saying, how can we help give people, I mean, that connection to real horror is part of Ultraman's creation, right?
Mhm.
So, and I don't know if you know this about him, but during some of the, I think the fire bombings, like he would be down in a shelter telling his children fairy tales. So, isn't that beautiful?
I also read he told them stories about King Kong.
So
I
cool.
was a huge fan
Because
of the original King Kong.
yeah,
Yeah.
he was he because he initially wanted to do the original Godzilla movie with
Hmm.
stop motion like King Kong, but he said, but it would take me 7 years to make, and they're like, we can't wait that long.
Right.
Yeah.
So he came up with the whole suitmation thing. So when Toho got the rights to King Kong and they made King Kong versus Godzilla, he was like, this is my playground, and he just went nuts.
Oh, he was just right for it.
Yeah,
Mhm.
yeah, and that's a fun movie too. I highly recommend watching the original Japanese version because it is a potent satire. The American version kind of takes some of that potency out, but you watch the original and it's like it actually
Mhm.
gets kind of meta at one point
Yeah.
because they're like, there's the Mr. Taco, the pharmaceutical, the head of the pharmaceutical company, who was like, I'm gonna make King Kong my mascot or whatever because they just captured him. But now they're hearing on the radio that Godzilla's coming, and one of his employees is like, they're even gonna make a movie about it
Oh my
in the
goodness.
Japanese version. He's like, no.
Wow.
Yeah, it's
Wow.
it's some great stuff. It's some great stuff.
Amazing.
Some great stuff. But yeah, I agree with you there. Yeah, this is why you are the right person to write this. So you've already answered one of my next questions, which was, how did you get the opportunity to write this?
Mhm.
So let me ask you this. Let's talk
Wow.
about this book specifically. I'm going to hold it up to the camera one more
Okay.
time for everybody to see.
Oh man.
Where did you get the idea for this, or was that pre-canned for you?
Oh no. No, no, no. We were thinking there's so many ways that you could approach a licensed product. But we really wanted to create something like Tsuburaya is one of my heroes. And I wasn't interested in just creating something that would make a quick buck. I just thought, I was a teacher for 7 years. I saw what kids were going through. I was like, the story has to honor not just we wanted to honor canon, but also the heart of Tsuburaya when he created this. And let's just kind of pass that baton on. And so I was thinking about, at this particular age, this middle grade age, it's a very confusing age. As you were talking earlier about substitute teaching, I mean, it can be really scary and really hard, and that's even without the world being what it is now. And as somebody who was a nerd and who went on a lot of these science trips as a kid, there's just a unique dynamic to go into these things because what you're told is, oh, the future is dependent upon you. You're smart or you're gifted or whatever. And so we commission you to save the world. And that's a lot to fall on a kid, right? Like, like I'm 13. How am I supposed to save the world? But yet there's this, that's
Child, you
just,
must bring about world peace.
yeah, you're the future.
Yeah,
And so, but in a sense, kids are the
and then
future.
all the
So,
beauty queens are like, I want to make world peace if I win. And I'm like, yeah, I have fun with that, Missy. Yeah.
yep, yep, yep. And so, like, how do you realistically do that? Like, and I just kind of wanted to see all of these things come together. Kids at an awkward age in a world that's breaking, that, they have trauma of their own because they're existing in a world in which people are living with real pain. And yet these things are emerging from a damaged earth. I think that some of the best stories come out of really caring. Like there have been points when I've cried over these kids and I'll just feel like, no, they're real kids. I really love them. And worrying about them. And what do you do when there are things that are too big for you? So I guess it just kind of came out of an authentic desire, authentic love for Ultraman and what he means, and authentic desire to help the kids who are living right now and what happens when you throw all this together. So that sounds, I don't know, kind of romanticized, but it's the truth, right, Steve? I mean, that's
Oh my gosh. And this is one of the things I would say is from the very beginning, when we first wanted to do this, and this is this goes back to, I'm going to switch back to like more of the business aspect of things. Back in the days when I was involved in Lucasfilm licensing and publishing, you know, when Lucasfilm would license the rights to a publisher to do a novel or to do a series of novels, you know, they had very strict rules. You cannot use any of the core characters. No main characters may be used, but you can use generic terms like droids, which is a TM Lucasfilm word.
That's wild to me.
I know it is. And you can use the names of planets and solar systems and or star systems and everything, but you could not touch canon characters.
Mm-hmm.
Flash forward 30 years to where we're starting this, and Tsuburaya said, we only want you to use our characters. We don't want you to try to invent new kaiju.
Mm-hmm.
And we're going to trust you with our canon SSSP team to start. And Rebecca and I, when we entered into this, the whole idea is, and with my licensing background, I've observed intellectual properties my whole career. People who get immersed into Ultraman are not necessarily Ultraman fans. This becomes part of their being. It becomes part of our hearts. This is sentimental. I had a friend who, a buddy of mine in California, in Northern California, there was an Ultraman convention in San Francisco 2 summers ago. And, or maybe three summers ago. And he called me and he said, Steve, you know, I just went to this little tiny Ultraman convention that was in a movie theater. And, you know, they had a few dealers in the lobby, but have you ever watched Superior 8 Ultra Brothers? And I said, no, I've never taken it out of the shrink wrap, but I've got it on my shelf. And he said, there wasn't a dry eye in the house when that movie ended. They screened it today. And he said, we are the right age to watch this movie. And so I unwrapped it and I watched it. And I thought, this is the heart of Ultraman. It had, you know, and by then I learned who the characters and the actors were, so I could see the cameos in that. But I also, as much as I love the original Ultraman, I love Ultraman Tiga. That is by far my favorite iteration. Although
I'm there with you.
Really,
Tiga was my first Ultraman because I caught it a few times when it aired on Fox.
Yeah. Okay. Well, then Ultraman Max, it grew on me quickly, but I mean, the original Ultraman is Eiji Tsuburaya's heart. I mean, his blueprint is all over that. That is his DNA in that show. Mm-hmm. And the people who love Ultraman don't say, you know, oh, I'm just going to buy this action figure because I'm going to, you know, this is what I love. It's like, I love the heart of Ultraman. When Rebecca and I started this, we thought Ultraman needs to be reintroduced to American kids. You know, we both, and Rebecca lives in Tennessee. I live in Chicago. She works remotely, but we both went to see Shin Ultraman when it was the Fathom Events thing. Now, in Rebecca's small town, there weren't a lot of people in her theater. In the suburbs of Chicago, I was a full packed house. And next to me was a father who was my age with his son who was my son's age. And they had the next generation with them. They had the grandson. And I thought, they're trying to share this, but we need something new for kids. And I think when Rebecca pitched the idea of, and I'm not going to take any credit for coming up with Ultra Academy. This was Rebecca. When she came up with it, I thought, this is it. And this is going to appeal to children. And fortunately, we have Tsuburaya who believes in us as well. and they see that this could be something that could grow into, I mean, we would love to see it on TV as when our 6-book story arc ends. I mean, I'd love to see this go on television.
Well, the story arc, has some really important stuff.
Yeah.
Like, and I'm grateful for the help that we've had from Tsuburaya to, develop the whole arc and to see where the end is kind of from the beginning. But it's pretty rich. And I'm thankful that instead of just going like this book stands alone, it really does build. Like the storyline, the themes, the intentionality of the story that's being told is pretty rich too. So, but I mean, there are also cool monster fights and
there are
kaiju fights and
right.
But
what's really nice is that Tsuburaya allowed us to not let the readers know that Hayata is Ultraman in the first book. Rebecca and the president of Tsuburaya kind of plotted this out together. And Rebecca proposed, I would like to wait till, I'm not going to reveal, but when it's revealed, because we're hoping that this is an all new generation of kids who don't know Ultraman who will become our core audience. And then when they learn that Hayata is Ultraman, we
spoilers.
We want that. I know. We want that to be magical for them.
Mm-hmm.
And
I think the challenge, though, initially is setting it up because, anybody who's watched Ultraman, who knows original Ultraman, knows what the SP is, knows what the dynamic is, knows all of this. And so to create a story in which you have to introduce the personalities of this whole team that exists and introduce 6 new characters, there'll be a 7th in the next book.
Yeah, that's a lot to juggle.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yep. To where it's believable.
Some people would think that it would, if you're utilizing pre-existing characters, it's easier. Actually, I would argue not really, because you're always second guessing whether or not it's like, am I writing this character correctly? Because it's not your creation. You're a caretaker of sorts for this character. Because I will say, I went into it with confidence that you knew what you were doing, because I met you at G-Fest, and I was like, okay, she seems like she knows what she's doing. But I went into it, I was just like, you better get the SSSP right. You better get the Science Patrol right. If you don't get E-Day right, I will write you letters.
E-Day's a man.
Because if you listen to Engine Power V3, we went through the original Ultraman. E-Day was our guy.
Mm-hmm.
He was our guy. He was our favorite character. I was like, we know Hayata is Ultraman, but whatever. He's actually not that interesting of a character. E-Day's where it's at. Why isn't E-Day Ultraman?
If you look at old pulp series like Doc Savage, or even the new version of Doc Savage, Buckaroo Banzai, there was always the team that really made up who the hero was.
Mm-hmm.
It isn't one. Ide is super important, but I think Rebecca killed it with Fuji. I mean, she really just made Fuji into a key character, and she should be.
Mm-hmm. Well, make sure you put in something about how she's obsessed with jewelry, not jewelry, but like gemstones, because that was a whole episode.
Pearls? I think it was pearls. Yeah.
Yeah, she's like, oh, look at these pearls. I love the pearls. Oh, look, a pearl-eating monster. Prepare for surreality. This is an Akio Soji episode.
I can't talk very much about book 2 yet, but Ide's role, if you think about, I think I can say this, like Ide is an inventor, right? So he's constantly thinking about creation. So he would be an important mentor for kids who are also trying to develop things, because he's going to understand what it means to be curious and to need to create, and how much you love your creations. And so anyway, it's going to be fun to work with him through books 2 and 3.
Yeah,
so
it would be interesting at some point in the series with Ide to tackle some of the heavy stuff that he dealt with in My Home is Earth. That was such an impactful episode. Like that episode's a gut punch.
Yeah,
it is such a gut punch. Every time I watch it, I'm just like, oh my gosh,
man. Yeah.
Yeah, you see a different side of Ide.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, you know, so
Well,
he's
he's
not
a great
just a
character.
clown.
He's a great
I think
character.
I like all the characters though. And I
Absolutely.
think they had to probably keep Hayata at a certain mysteriousness, I guess, because he's got a complex role. So I get why they did what they did with Hayata there. I like Arashi. I think
Hmm.
the way he loves kind of that rough, but protective and stern. And I don't know, the dynamic between Arashi and Ide is fun. And
Oh, it's very fun,
Yeah.
but it's interesting to
okay.
watching the original show how little how little what little they do with Hayata because they're like he's Ultraman, that's enough, right? Because all the Ultra series after that they do way more with the
Mhm.
Ultra host. Like you get to Ultra 7 and but in that one he's an Ultra in human form, so he has to be a
Yeah.
character. But
Yeah.
then you get to the 70s shows and like you get to Hideki Go in Return of Ultraman.
Mhm.
And they gave him an entire life outside of being on the team. He has a girlfriend and
Mhm.
all of this, and that ends up complicating things for him. I won't spoil it for you, but oh boy, they do things in that show.
Do you think that if they had had a more um a story focus that fell more on Hayata's life as a human, that the Ultraman series could have been as diverse as it was? Do you think that sort of his mysterious nature, the lack of definition of him as a character in that initial show allowed for flexibility for other ultras?
For the later Ultras,
Hmm.
probably. I don't know if the later Ultras were written differently in response to that. It's not to say that Hayata didn't get anything. He just didn't get nearly as much as all the rest of the
Right.
characters. I think
Right.
he had like maybe one focus episode, and then there were a couple episodes where he had a larger role in the overall story, but otherwise, he's not nearly as front and center and doesn't have nearly as big of a personality as the rest of these characters,
Hmm.
which is interesting.
What do you think?
But
I feel like you're thinking,
I can see why they would do that, but
yeah.
at the same time, it's just like, it would have been nice if they did a little bit more with him.
Oh man, just wait till you read book 2.
Yeah, well, that's why that was one of the things that was one of the
Hayata's
things
Rebecca
I
really
noted
did a
in
great job.
one of the things I noted in my review was just like, huh, Hayata's got a bit more characterization in this than in most episodes of the show.
Yeah. Well, you have a different, it's very different writing a book. You can say things that you can't in a show, and the show can have a lot of things that a book can't just because of special effects and, emotion and time and everything. So it is a little bit interesting creating a book,
Hmm.
within that genre. But I appreciate the chance that they've given me to dig into who Hayata was and how he
Hmm.
thinks and the influence he would have on a group of kids and stuff
Hmm.
like that. So,
Yeah, because even though the SSSP is in this book, they are supporting characters because your main characters are this group of
mhm.
6. We'll say, are they like? I think they're middle school kids, right? Because this is a
Well,
middle
they're about
grade.
twelve.
This is specifically a middle grade novel, so we're talking like fifth grade
We're actually
to like
thinking seventh graders for the
seventh graders.
characters.
Okay.
Aren't we
They're
back?
12. They're all about 12 years
Yeah,
old when the series
sixth
starts.
grade to seventh grade.
When it
Just
starts.
yeah.
So, yeah.
Yeah.
But
So they're your primary protagonists in this.
yeah, the mentorship roles of, I had to have sort of a light touch setting it all up at the beginning because there was so much going on. But the mentorship roles of the SSSP in those kids as the different themes arise and different conflicts arise, different kaiju appear to create different conflicts. I think that will appear more in some of the later in some of the later books. So
Yeah, that will be interesting because this one is very much a like a pilot episode. This is the kids are like, oh, we get to be in the Ultra Academy. We just got recruited. I was thinking of Ender's Game. I don't know if that was anywhere in your mind, but it reminded me of Ender's Game, except a lot lighter than Ender's Game
yeah, yeah,
was,
yeah,
where it's these prodigious kids who are being recruited because they're like, oh, you're really smart. You need to come over here,
yeah.
and they're getting used to being it's basically like getting used to a new school, but it's a school where you get to fight monsters and use cool technology and things like that. And
Yeah.
then the Baltans mess everything up with the school. So now it's like, oh crap, what do we do now?
Yeah. Oh,
All
yeah.
those initial lessons, we got to use them right now.
Really fast. Doesn't it always happen that we need to know what we've just learned before we're ready?
Yeah, basically, basically. And it was appropriate, I thought, to use Baltan in this first book because he, for a long time, he seems to be less so now because he hasn't shown up as much as he used to, but he was for the longest time basically considered the arch nemesis of Ultraman. I think he's the only kaiju who, no, I think he had the most appearances, I want to say. Gomera had a 2-part episode, but Baltan actually came back.
Well, if you think about Ultraman is dwelling in a human host, right?
Yeah.
And so in a dark way, Baltan, when he gets in your mind, he's
Mhm.
kind of like trying to be inside of a human host too, but he's not. And I know that story is complicated because, we saw in some latter iterations of Baltan that they weren't all bad and there was a reason for, some of this that was happening. But I just
Mhm.
think the mind distortions versus Ultraman coming in and driving us to be better as humans. That's an interesting contrast too. So
Yeah, which is why I'm going to be curious to see what you do with future entries because I'm just like, which kaiju is she going to use after this? Okay, what? And I'm not going to ask you to tell me, but I'm like, I kind of want to know because there's some fun ones that
yeah,
you could do.
you might be surprised, but
Yeah.
yeah, it might not
I'm just
be.
saying if you have like Gabora, there needs to be some throwaway line where it's like, where have I seen him before? And then it's like, oh yeah, what about these other monsters? And it's just like they look
Uh,
weirdly alike.
yeah. Well, I needed certain ones to go with this particular story arc. So if we continue after book 6, we may build some more in. But because certain kaiju fit certain themes, then
Mm.
that came to play too, in terms of
Yeah.
some of them that have big developed storylines and some of them that leave room to be developed. So
Yeah. And it
yeah,
would be really funny if you threw Jaras in there. I don't care if it's for like one chapter. It's just so you can say, like,
yeah,
I kind of wrote Godzilla.
yeah,
And
cool.
someone should say, like, where have I seen him before?
Oh man. So who are your favorite kaiju
From the original Ultraman?
from any kaiju of all time?
Well, Godzilla, obviously. And I have become more fond of Kong as time has gone on. And I
Okay.
love specifically Heisei Gamera. Forgive me, Steven. I prefer Heisei Gamera
Oh, oh,
to
I think
Showa
you
Gamera.
vanished for a minute. So
Yeah, I know. But,
come back.
hopefully, maybe he heard it, maybe he didn't. I don't know. But yeah, I, I love Heisei Gamera.
Okay.
And yeah, beyond that, like, I'm trying to think here. From Ultraman, Gomera, I know Gomera is kind of a basic choice to go with, but Gomera
Yeah.
is weirdly tame compared to some of the wilder kaiju that they have in in that and Jiras, just because it's basically Godzilla. I mean, it's
What about the saddest? What are the saddest kaiju that you
the
can think?
saddest kaiju.
Yeah.
The saddest kaiju. Some well, like first one that came to my mind is there's an incarnation of Gomera that was very sad because it was from Ultraman Powered or Ultraman the Ultimate Hero, which was actually an American made show, but it
Okay.
never aired in America.
Yeah.
It's weird. And in that one, Gomera gets revived, and then they said, like, he's used to being in an environment that isn't nearly this dry. So he's dehydrating.
Yeah.
He's running around rampaging, but there's like, he's dehydrating.
Yeah.
He's going to die unless we do something. And then when that Ultraman intervenes, he only fights Gomera briefly because the thing just keels over from heat exhaustion, just falls over. And then he just goes over and cradles it.
Oh my goodness. Yeah.
Yeah. So that one was pretty sad,
Yeah.
I would have to say.
Yeah. Jamala is really scary, sad. I think, just the thought of what happened to create that was this heartbreaking.
Mm-hmm.
Do you have a favorite
Favorite
kaiju?
Favorite
kaiju?
Ultra Kaiju?
Yeah.
Oh,
Is it? I bet it's this one.
Oh, Connie Gun.
We
So
love him.
Connie Gun doesn't fight Ultraman though. He just shows up and
That was
shenanigans
cute
ensue.
though. That was before Ultraman was in. So
Yeah. Well, he's been in some Ultra shows, but he doesn't fight Ultraman. He just shows up and shenanigans ensue. But he's interesting because he's like a cautionary tale for children.
Yeah.
Yeah, if you that is one of the best episodes of
That is a
Ultra Q.
wild
Absolutely.
episode. The-
It's
when the
wild,
kid
but
comes
it's
back.
wild, but it's wonderfully fairy tale like.
Oh,
You
yeah.
would love it, Rebecca, if you
yeah,
haven't
I
seen
love
it
it. No,
already.
I've watched it. I
Yeah,
love it. I absolutely love it.
No,
because he's a
Um,
coin purse.
Yep.
yeah. Well, and you know, I've been trying to find this for Rebecca. In Japan, there was a product. It's a Kanegan coin purse, and it's
So
a purse
cool.
with a zipper, and it's
Have you
pretty neat.
have you seen the hoodie and it
Yeah.
zips? I
Oh,
think
I
that
have
one's
not.
amazing.
That's just an obvious product to make
Yeah.
right there.
That story reminds me of, I really love Russian novels too. I forgot to mention that earlier, but Russian fairy tales, but Russian
Mhm.
folklore. But this also kind of reminds me of there's something kind of dark and scary about it. Twilight Zone-y and Russian fairy tale-ish. But yeah, he's amazing. That
Yeah.
poor kid.
He had to learn a hard lesson,
I need to
very
learn that
very
lesson.
hard lesson,
Yeah. Yeah.
and
Well,
that's what makes that story resonant.
yep.
Mhm.
Yep. So
But
good.
yeah, I guess I don't know if I have a favorite other than him.
What's
Or
okay, my brain is blanking just a minute, but the one the kids drew and it wasn't scary enough. And
Oh,
so
I can't remember his name. They've brought that one back a couple of times.
I love that story so much. I think that's such a great story. Like, oh, it's not scary. Okay, let's make it worse.
yeah,
That's
I guess that
that's
maybe Gomez would be
Oh,
my
Gomez is another. That's another
just because I
Godzilla
love
clone.
Godzilla so much.
It's
And
another Godzilla clone. Yeah.
yeah.
but
But here I am scrambling to try to to find the list
The
of
name of
monsters.
that one, the one the
Yeah.
kids drew, I feel like I'm gonna remember it.
I wish I could remember. I'm a terrible fan. Where is it? I keep vamping until I find it.
I'm looking too. Maybe I'll find it.
Okay. Okay. This is the show. It's like, is that the character or the show? No, it's the show. So I'll
Gabadon.
probably recognize the
It was
episode
Gabadon,
title.
wasn't it?
Gabadon? I think it is Gabadon. Let me
Yeah,
see.
here he is.
Yes, yeah.
Looks
Wait,
like a dead
Gavadon.
fish.
It's Gavadon or Gabadon, depending on the translation.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah. Yeah, that's who it is. They actually brought him back. They've brought him back a couple of times.
Does his name change when he becomes the other with the
Nope,
scary
it's
one?
just Gavadon A and Gavadon B.
Yeah. That's a very, very cool storyline, I think, too.
Very
So,
unique one too.
yeah.
So, yeah. So is that a particular favorite episode of yours?
I love it. Yeah. Mostly because of what I've seen in kids and how kids sometimes, like, there's a baseline cruelty that sometimes kids have to have with each other or they're devoured by the other children. And so what happens when someone draws something that's just wonderful, but it's not scary enough, and then they make it worse and worse, trying to one up each other on cruelty, and then monsters unleashed. I mean, that's also a good cautionary tale.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think there's a lot there. So
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, like I said, you've got a lot of really good choices. I would be tickled to death if you tried grabbing some of the more obscure ones in here, because most of these achieve some level of icon status, but then you have like some of these weird one-offs like Dodongo and Mummy Man and stuff like that. There's an homage to Mummy Man actually in Beware the Baleful Baltan. It's probably as good as the story is. I was tickled to death when I got to the back of this book, and there are all of these fake reviews from the monsters. It just cracked me up because I
I
was
love
like,
Mummy Man's because
yeah.
he's just yeah.
Yeah, that's all he did. Baltan has a one and a half stars, like pitiful, ridiculous representation of my species. Gomer has 1.5 stars. This book is propaganda.
You know, what I appreciated.
Although, and then Red King is 1 star. It's like fake news, but my personal favorite might be Dada, who gave it 3.5 stars out of 5. And not good book. Need more Dada. And then he spends the whole review. It's all in caps, and he's always referring to himself in third person, and it just makes me laugh. It's like, should have consulted Dada. Need more Dada.
That was a lot. Those were last minute. I was so scared to ask Tsuburaya, and they were wonderful about it. In fact, when I sent it to them, they were the ones, because I had all low stars when I sent those in, and Tsuburaya said, "Wouldn't it be funny if we made Mummy Man's the way it is, but it's 5 stars, but nobody can understand it."
And the part of Mummy Man will be played by Sylvester Stallone.
I will admit that was super fun. We actually, if you look on the Amazon page, I don't know how long they'll let me stay there, but it says editorial reviews, and it's all the kaiju trash in the book under the editorial reviews.
It's just seeing how long it takes people to figure it out.
Yeah.
That's
So,
genius.
That, but...
That is genius. I approve.
So anyway.
I 110% approve of this. Oh man, which actually kind of leads me to one of my other questions, which is, what's your favorite part of book 1?
Oh, favorite part of book 1?
The royalty reports.
The what?
The royalty reports.
Oh, I haven't even thought of that part. I think, I don't know. I feel like everything I'm giving is such a sappy answer. So I'm looking for something that just deals with explosions. But I mean, like, I mean,
I need to clip that and put it on YouTube.
No,
oh my gosh, all my answers are so sappy. I need something with explosions.
Well, I mean, I was surprised how much I loved writing the fight scenes. Like, I was like, oh no, I really like writing fight scenes, which I had not expected of myself. So that part's been super fun, and I'm looking forward to writing more violence in the future. But
I'm also going to clip that out of context. I'm looking forward to writing more violence.
That was so therapeutic. Things up. But actually,
you do have some impressive set pieces, I have to say. When I was reading that, I was like, wasn't quite expecting that. Don't think I've ever seen that. At least in Ultraman, I've seen it in one movie, but
there you go. There you go. I think really it's just the chance to, because I'm worried about kids, man. I mean, I'm worried they've got this. Not only are they 12 and 13 and 4, and they lived through a pandemic, then they were alone, and it's hard to be kids anyway. But now the world is just all so scary, and the internet is constantly stirring people up, and they're watching their families in conflict, and I mean, it's just so much. And I think there's something, as a mom and as a former teacher and as a fan and as a person who in some ways is still 12 years old inside, because aren't we always like, going, who's going to come save us? Like that, it's a really authentic thing to be able to just sit with this and go, now what? Like, now what? How do we find real courage, kindness, and hope in this? How do we believe that there is a point to being human, and that we can do better even when they're overwhelming odds, but yet not be so arrogant that we are projecting our story onto the world, that we're constantly learning and that we're constantly curious. So it's just good. It's so good for me to think about interacting with kids. And I don't know if you saw me at G-Fest, but like it was, I was up on a panel, and that was great. And I'm talking to people about the stories, and that was great. But my very favorite part, and I love kids who are on the spectrum with so much, because I think a lot of times they're undervalued and misunderstood, and they've got stories inside them. I'll cry if I talk about it, but like they are relating, a lot of these kids, a lot of them are related to these stories in ways that maybe they don't even fully understand. And being able to look them in the eyes and go like, don't give up, have courage no matter what, and be kind no matter what. And like you have a commission in this world, so you don't have to save the whole thing, but believe that you matter and that you're here for a reason. And if you're unique, that's okay. So it's a privilege. It's a privilege to work with this company and these characters and to be trusted with these kids. I mean, that's huge. Who knows where these kids are going to be taking these books? What kind of world they're going to be sitting with these books on a couch somewhere.
I was going to say, stop giving them iPads, give them Ultra Academy.
Yeah.
Well,
I hope so.
yeah.
I hope that they'll find courage in it. So
I think that what we have accomplished, I would like to think that Mr. Tsuburaya himself would have been very proud of this book.
I hope so.
I really do. Because I think Rebecca cares so much for the hearts of children. And you don't create a mantra for yourself that you want to instill courage, kindness, and hope in children if you didn't love children genuinely. And I believe he did. And I think the fact that Rebecca has done this, I mean, I'll tell you, and this would be a giant spoiler alert for people who haven't read this, but the way the kids unite at the end of the story during their evaluation after everything is over. And the, it's coming down to who's getting picked to stay at the academy. To me, that's my favorite part of the book.
Oh, I'm so glad.
Just because it's like that is the kind of next generation we want to set up for our world. And I don't know about you, Nathan, but I mean, I was an outsider. I was an outsider in school, even though
I most certainly was.
But I mean, when I was, in high school, I was definitely, I was a swimmer on the swim team at my high school, but I was not an athlete per se. I retreated into my Tolkien and Lewis and into Arthurian mythology. But I mean, I definitely was more of an outsider, and yet feeling like, I had a purpose was what kept me going. And believe it or not, that happened when I saw Star Wars when I was 16. Saw Farm Boy Luke.
Yeah. And I think as adults, like that is part of our commission. Like we had people giving us stories that got us through, that we held into in dark rooms with flashlights and read. And like, what do we do now? We give the next generation stories so that they can, they can grow. And so it's a really great opportunity. I think I feel humbled, and I really, like you said, Steve, like if I thought E.J. Tsuburaya wouldn't like these, I would quit now and hand them to somebody else, because I value him too much and I value this legacy too much to just write a story for a famous brand. I feel like it has to resonate with what he wanted. So anyway,
I think people, well, I should say not people. I should say I think too many adults undervalue hero stories because the forms they usually come in, they view as childish and think that it's like you should be into, whatever, either just not be into fiction. I've met people who think all fiction is childish. And I'm like, what planet are you from?
Oh my gosh.
And but even if they don't think that's childish, they think things like, superheroes and
Mhm.
mythic stories like this, like those are not meant to be taken seriously. You should
Yeah.
be into whatever it is, high literature. That's the only part that's the only fiction that's acceptable. And I'm like, well, why?
Yeah.
Hero stories have been around for millennia, and they served a very important purpose.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
The ones that really annoy me are the Christians who are like, I only read the Bible. You must live a very boring life. I hate to say that, but
Yep.
because it
Yep.
sounds reductionist, and I am by no means trying to be reductionist with their faith or the Bible or whatever like that. But I don't know how people like that live
Mhm.
with themselves.
Stories matter so much. I think I told you, Nathan, before we were talking, I was having a conversation with this professor, and I was like, my argument was that nothing good happened in English poetry between Chaucer and Spenser in the 1590s, and got some kickback on that. And I was thinking about why. Like, I was just going through looking at Scottish poems and like what happened during this period, this 200-year period. And I think part of it was humanism and the desire for things to be classical and go back and these forms and Latin. And not that those things are bad, but those things hit right here instead of right here sometimes. And if you're performative and if you're trying to only tell the right stories in the right way, in this elite way, sometimes you can miss the intuitive gut part of us that needs a bard, that needs a journey to the underworld. It needs a
Mm-hmm.
kaiju, because those things speak in a different way to us. And so, yeah, I'm with you
Mm-hmm.
there.
Yeah.
C.S. Lewis said that you have to, at some point, you're going to be old enough to love fairy tales again, right?
Yeah, oh yeah,
So,
it's one of my favorite Lewis quotes, and I need to find out where it's originally from. But I found an image with it on there that's like this kind of pastel caricature of Lewis sitting on
mhm,
a chair, and he's got some kids around him, and it looks like he's reading from a book. And
yeah,
I'm going to paraphrase it, but if you friend me on Facebook, this is my banner image,
yeah,
because I think it really speaks into the kinds of
hmm,
people that we are, particularly if we're making things like this.
yep,
And that is, basically, when I was a child, I was embarrassed to be seen reading
yep,
fairy tales, so I would do it in secret. And then I
yeah,
became an adult, and I put away he said, like,
yep,
I became, but then when I became an adult, I read them openly because I put away childish things like the fear of being seen as childish.
yep,
And I'm like, that is such a perfect paradox, because only children, long to be grown-ups.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
It's an
Because when you're
interesting
a
thought.
grown-up, and then when you're a grown-up, you long to be a child again.
Yep.
yeah.
Yep.
That's interesting.
So really,
Yeah,
you stop being childish by worrying about being seen as an adult.
Mhm.
It's like I said, it's such an amazing paradox.
that is wonderful. I
Yeah.
love it. He is my all-time favorite author. And I probably shouldn't say this on camera, but I'm going to tell you anyway, because this is just embarrassing and nerdy. But I got to go to Oxford a couple summers ago, working on the Fairy Queen project, in part because of Steve. And I went to C.S. Lewis's grave. And have you seen it before? Have you seen his
Unfortunately, I
grave?
have not. One day I would love to visit it.
So it's this little bitty churchyard, and there were actually kind of some weeds around. It wasn't what I thought it would be. I thought it would be just like this national like thing, but it's little tiny church. Nobody was around in the middle of kind of a normal area, and so I got down on the ground as close as I could, and I was like, I'm as close to C.S. Lewis's bones as I'll ever be, and I was like, man, you got me through so much. Your stories, like I'm just talking through the ground. And I mean, we need those. We need those
Mm-hmm.
images and the people who are willing to be children as adults to tell those tales. So,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, super grateful for him.
Mm-hmm.
Super grateful.
One of the best jokes I ever heard was the remarkable fluke of timing. He died on the same day as Aldous Huxley and John F. Kennedy. And you know what else happened that day? Doctor Who premiered.
I did not know that.
Yep, Doctor Who almost failed from the get-go because it premiered on the day John F. Kennedy was shot. So nobody in Britain was paying attention. They were paying attention to the news because the American president just got shot
Oh,
and he's dead.
wow.
So the creators of the show, because BBC was like,
Yeah.
the ratings were terrible. We're done. And the creators of the show fought to keep it on. It's like, rerun it next week. I promise you it will be a hit. And they're like,
Oh,
okay, fine, we'll rerun it next week. They reran it next week, and the rest is history. So
wow.
the joke I heard was someone who was in a Facebook group I was in wrote this whole little thing as this tribute to Lewis on the day that he died, and then punctuated by saying, and then he regenerated and painted the wardrobe blue and called it the TARDIS. He regenerated into the Doctor, painted the wardrobe blue, and called it the TARDIS.
So who's your best Doctor Who? Doctor Who?
Technically, I would have to say Tennant because I cosplay him.
Ah,
So probably him, but my first Doctor was Eccleston, so I have a soft
yeah,
spot for Eccleston.
me
But
too.
so
You children. Oh my gosh.
I have sampled all the other Doctors, sir.
My first Doctor Who was Peter Cushing in the movies.
Oh,
then,
wow, that's weird.
yes, it is. And
Although,
and then John Pertwee.
John Pertwee, yeah, in the 70s, yeah. But yeah, so I just thought that was funny because I need someone to write I need a competent writer, let me say this, who will write a Doctor Who story where he meets C.S. Lewis, like a like a younger C.S. Lewis, and he takes him into the TARDIS, and he's just like, what? What is this? And then at the end, they go on some adventure and save the world or whatever. And
there
then
have
they
to be
get to the
furs in the
end.
TARDIS somewhere, like fur coats in the TARDIS somewhere.
Yeah. And then so they go on an adventure, they save the world together. And then the Doctor drops him off. And then he kind of sits there, is like, bigger on the inside. And he looks over at a wardrobe, and then the episode ends.
There you go. Have to talk to the
That's great. Let's steal that one.
Yeah.
Oh, you got to get it. You'll need 2 licenses for that one. Have fun.
Well, I also think like the Matt Smith when that era was good just because of the four. Like the four to get those four together. That energy was just beautiful with River and Rory, and man, I loved all that.
Yeah, I would say of the new show, my favorite companion is, why am I forgetting her name? Catherine.
Oh gosh, Catherine Tate.
Catherine Tate. What was her character's name again?
She's so funny.
I'm a terrible fan, but you know who I'm talking about.
I do. They're friends in real life, I think.
Yeah, they are. And so her character was my favorite because she wasn't infatuated with the Doctor, which was a nice change of pace.
Donna.
And also she's one of the few who could
Donna?
Donna, that's right, Donna.
Yeah, okay.
Donna Noble. And she was one of the few who could actually put the Doctor in his place when she needed to. Like she was like, stop it, spaceman. And
she's wickedly funny. She is so funny.
Yeah, but Amy and Rory together, I will admit, like notched her out a little bit.
Oh my god.
But it's Amy and Rory together. By themselves, they're fine. Together, they win.
Amazing. Yeah. Well, sad thing about Donna is when it goes to the end and she loses it all, loses all her progress. I can't hardly talk about that. That's so sad.
Yeah, but they revisited that in the newer stuff, and I skipped it because I don't watch Doctor Who anymore. Because reasons. All right. Anyway, we need to start wrapping things up. We keep going on these fun rabbit trails, but they're still rabbit trails. So, what can we expect from the series and from you in the future?
You want me to speak to it or not? Or do you want to?
Do you mean
Rebecca is the one who would speak to what's happening in the series.
Yeah.
Totally.
Steve, what were you going to think?
I wanted to say that if you're attending G-Fest next summer, we are making a giant publishing announcement at G-Fest related to Tsuburaya. and it in no way is going to downplay what Ultra Academy is, but it's something else that they're allowing us to play with, and I'm very excited about it. But I think we're planning to try to have book 3 out in time for G-Fest next summer.
You're going to crank out 2 more between now and G-Fest?
Book 2 is finished. Rebecca finished it. We're just waiting for approval from Tsuburaya. And so, but we'll see. But Beck, you speak to the rest of it, because this is your creation.
I mean, I feel like I'm just gonna be kind of human, I guess, in my response. I feel like what I'm really capable of doing is loving Ultraman, understanding the canon, and creating authentic stories. So I feel like I can do that part of it. I'm not strong in promotion or the advertising, the marketing, like those things that have to be done with stories. So I could, if anybody who's listening to this has ideas on how to get things out, and, or channels that would be strategic. I don't even know if I would be good at that, but Steve would be. He's very good at that kind of thing. So I don't know in terms of scope. I know in terms of depth that the series, each book has a real theme, and big adventures, and some travel, and a big surprise at the end of the 6 books. So I don't know what else to say. What, Steve?
Stay tuned.
Stay tuned. Yeah.
If you really wanted to do the obvious thing, you do 7 books, and Ultra 7 shows up to help at the end.
Oh, there you go.
There you go.
There you go.
Play into it right there.
We could carry it on to when they're older. We've talked about doing a YA series eventually, but which would have different themes, but we'll see. We'll see what happens.
Yeah. I'm just saying, I mean, as cool as it is seeing the OG characters in this, it would be interesting to see some of the other, even if it's just little cameos, it would be interesting to see some of the other Ultras show up, like Seven or Jack from Return of Ultraman or something like that.
Yeah, now you're talking.
I'm sure it would require more licensing and negotiations, because that's how it all works. But
we have a blanket license for the next umpteenth years, million years, to develop further. But everything is subject to approval, and especially things are subject to what Tsuburaya is currently doing. Next year, in 1 month, we hit 2026, which is the 60th anniversary of Ultraman. And so they are heavily focused on the original series. And so this is perfect for us.
All right. I think one thing that's been neat, and this is my first opportunity to write licensed material, so I'm not familiar with the world like Steve is, but one thing that's been impressive to me is the heart that we've seen in the company. And I really think that people who are involved in this truly care about the story and truly care about kids, and not just about making money. And so that's been really fun to see. And it's been good for collaboration too, the input that they've been giving has been very story focused and depth focused, and so that's been really neat too. I've been impressed with them.
I've heard some interesting stories about how, because Bandai is a big funder for the show, so they still kind of, they got to do the things where it's like, hey, look at the toys, kids. So there's a little bit of that, but I heard actually with Blazar, they actually did most of the pre-production before they sent anything to Bandai to get feedback from them, which is why it's probably the least toyetic out of all of the newer shows. Because they're like, oh, we're done already. Oh, okay. Can we still get toys out of all these? Oh yeah, you'll get plenty of toys.
Wow. I don't know about that. But I mean, you have to do some of that to make money, to keep telling the stories you need to tell.
Absolutely.
But,
yeah.
And I know that Bandai is a very very respected partner to Tsuburaya.
Mhm.
You know, and I think even though there are other toy licensees, Bandai has been with them the longest. And they're the most loyal, and I think they're the most willing to experiment. I mean, you know, go to an American toy store. You know, last year we had Ultraman toys. Granted, it was from Ultraman Rising in Walmart, which I hadn't seen any Ultraman in a toy store since 1993, when, you know, the Australian co-production series was airing on Fox Kids.
I do. I actually got lucky and found one of those figures at a convention and bought it.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well,
Still in the box.
Yep.
Met the
So
actor from that show and had him sign it.
Yep.
I have a question for you, Nathan.
What's
So
that?
you interact a ton with Ultraman fans, right? I mean, because you do this all the time. I feel like, so G-Fest was my very first chance to interact with a lot of Ultraman fans, and they were all just, the people were wonderful. They were so kind and fun, and I mean, had gobs of data. But have you found anything unique about the Ultraman fandom as you worked with a lot of, is that pretty typical? Because I just loved it.
I would say yes. I know some conventions get a bit of a bad rap, and there have been some people who've complained about G-Fest, but my experience at G-Fest has always been positive. And you know, I'm not to say that some of the horror stories, we'll call them, didn't happen, but in my experience, G-Fest has always been a wonderful place like that. And I do think Ultraman fans, generally speaking, are very nice, very good people. Even when they have complaints, they don't get all that vitriolic about it, unlike some of the, you know, some of the other tokusatsu fan bases that I've seen. I've heard, though it's more from me learning secondhand, I've heard people complain about what people say in the Kamen Rider fandom, or at the moment it's the Super Sentai fandom, but and the Power Ranger fandom, because there's like nothing but turmoil going on with that, with all the recent news and things like that, and people are freaking out about everything.
Oh man.
Yeah, you know,
Well,
about a bunch of stuff, but yeah. So
it was
I'm not
great.
surprised.
I was like, how do we start out talking about kaiju battles and then suddenly we're here? And they're like telling these great life stories about where Ultraman intersected with their life. And it was just, I loved it. So
yeah, the Ultraman fans they're good people. They're very good people, at least in my experience. So
yeah.
I've thoroughly enjoyed getting to know them. So.
My battery just said that I'm at 10%. So I hope this
you're
won't
using your
cut
phone?
out. Well, no, I thought it was plugged in, but I'm not. So I'm gonna have to retrace some cords. But I just wanted to let you know in case something.
Okay. Well, I was about ready to start wrapping up anyway.
Yes, I think we need to disconnect shortly. And what I'll do is say thanks a lot for having us.
Yep. I'll start wrapping things up. All right. All righty. Well, this has gone on a bit longer than I expected, but it's been a wonderful conversation. So, really quick, if you got anything you want to plug, socials, all of that, you know, go buy the books, obviously. But, you know, is there anything else you want to let anybody know about before we sign off?
Beware the Baleful Baltan is available on Amazon, and you can order it at Barnes and Noble or other stores. If you read some of the reviews on Amazon, you'll see that some of the grandparents who have bought it, or parents who have bought it for their kids, ended up reading it and loving it. So it's really for everyone. And just keep focusing as fans of Ultraman on courage, kindness, and hope in our world. And let's be praying that this world fixes itself.
I think if there are any teachers out there who want to work with the series, want to talk to me, because I was a teacher for a long time. So we have some classroom materials that could connect. And I don't mind at this point. I'm done with some big writing projects. So if any teachers want me to zoom in with their class so they can talk to somebody who's writing these, let me know and I'll try to do that. And our libraries, we have some programs that might work. So we'd love to help share the stories however we can. So.
All right. All right. And, for anybody who wants to know, about anything, how to get a hold of the show or anything, just listen to the credits, because you should always listen to the credits.
There you go. You've been great, Nathan. Thank you so much.
And big for those who are listening on the MIFV feed, big thank you to all of my patrons. You help make this possible. Very much appreciate that. And stay tuned, because 2026, kind of, happy accident. Well, I had a lot of delays with the podcast, but we will be going on our Ultra journey. That'll be the name of season 5. We'll be looking at Ultraman movies. So how very appropriate.
Perfect.
Can't wait to listen.
Yep, we will be starting with Ultraman The Adventure Begins, the Hanna-Barbera produced animated film from 1987.
Wow.
Because that was the first Ultraman movie that was completely original.
Wow.
Completely original. Ultraman Story was not a complete compilation film, but it was like half compilation film. So, I'm starting with the one that was completely original, which is ironically American made. Oh, thank you. All righty.
Thanks a lot, Nathan, for having
us. And thank you for being here.
All right. See you, Nathan.
All
Bye-bye.
right.
Take care.
Cue the credits.